The Invictus Games brings together hundreds of athletes from around the world who all share the common thread of military service. But for two women I met at the Games, their shared story runs much deeper, and the bond that brought them together was also the one that brought them the most pain. If there's one thing that I've learned in talking to so many members of this Invictus team, it's that a lot of them had a realization that they weren't alone in their struggles, and that was a big part of their recovery. In your cases, you realized not only were you not alone, but you had something deeply personal in common, didn't you?
Yes, we sure did. So we met at a Wounded Warriors Canada weekend. A couple of weeks after that, MJ reached out to me just to tell me some stuff. I'm involved in Operation Honor, so she wanted to sort of confide and disclose to somebody. And in going through that, we came to the horrifying realization that we shared an offender.
Well, and that to me is shocking, and in a lot of ways, the people that I've talked to who said realized they weren't alone, there was a reassurance that came with that. What was the feeling like when you realized that you shared this?
Terror, actually.
Yeah.
That was my first instinct, and then just the shocking realization that if there's two, there's probably more, and there becomes a duty to report. You know, where before we felt alone and isolated in our incidents, thought, oh, okay, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of victim blaming that goes on, right? So
you sort of say, you know what, I can live with it. I can live with what happened. It's been 20+ years. I can deal with it. But to find out that there was somebody else out there that had met the same person and basically the same thing had happened, that was like, you know, we can't deal with this. I can't deal with the idea that there might be other people out there suffering that might have the exact same story to tell.
We hear the shocking numbers of sexual assault in society at large. The numbers in the military aren't any better. I think it's over a quarter of the women in the service have been assaulted at least once. And to know that your offender is still in the service, what does that mean to you? And what does that mean about how much work has to happen inside our military?
Well, first of all, the fact that they're still a member is deeply offensive to me as a still serving member, that my offender is still wearing the same uniform and is still serving. But I don't think, actually I know, I've never blamed the military for the things that I've suffered as far as assaults. What I think I need to hold the military accountable for is how they deal with the aftermath. We have to get better at the victim support piece, at making sure that those people that are injured in this way can get back on that road to mental health, and that we don't lose them.
MJ, how do you feel about where the military is today, where it was when you were assaulted, and where you think it's headed?
Well, and I served quite some time ago, so early 90s, when women were just getting into the combat arms, so I was one of the first artillery officers. What we have now is we have a large number of female veterans that are in crisis, and according to Vets Canada, their #1 issues are military sexual trauma and domestic violence, because the two are closely linked. Because when you've been a survivor of sexual assault, the chemistry of your brain actually changes, and you just tend to make choices that are not necessarily healthy choices, or you learn to tolerate the intolerable, and you can get into relationships that are not healthy. So we have a lot of work to do to kind of help the people that are in that situation.
And sometimes it can seem almost insurmountable when you look at, trying to create culture change in an organization as big as ours. But if there's one thing that I learned from Invictus, it's that, you know what, the impossible is possible. So we can absolutely do this.
But Donna, is the clock ticking on that change? Because your daughter, her dream is to go into the military. So do you feel that there's a clock that's ticking, that you are hoping that a certain level of change happens before she makes it to the military? It's
less of a clock ticking than I have a vested interest to make sure that I create a safer place. Now, I can't guarantee that we will not have offenders in our ranks, because we pull from society and they still exist in society. But I can guarantee that we can make things better, and if the unthinkable happens to her, that her peers will have her back, and that her mom will have her back, and we'll get her back on the path to her dream. And that's the best that anybody can offer.
MJ, Donna, thank you for your service. Thank you for competing at Invictus, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On Monday, meet Invictus athlete Rhonda Crew, one half of the first ever Canadian husband-wife duo to compete in the Invictus Games.